Hey guys, long time no talk on this channel. It's been a while since I posted on my horror channel. It's not that I'm not as dedicated to it, it's just if I'm gonna film, I spend a lot of time filming on my other channel. I'm really hoping to change that and film a lot more on my horror channel. I feel so passionate about it, and after I watch movies, I have so much to say. So in this video, I'm gonna do a couple of my favorite underrated horror films, things that I feel like may not necessarily, not underhyped, but underrated. So maybe after people saw it, they were like, that wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. So I have 4 movies to talk about, and keep in mind, this is my idea of underrated horror. Some people are like, I love that movie, that's not underrated. You know, some people might get a little defensive about the horror movies I'm going to talk about. But they're some of my favorites. I love them. All 4 of them. They're just ones that aren't... 2 of them are not as talked about. 2 of them were super hyped that maybe people were disappointed in. So I'm going to get started with the 2 that were not talked about that I hadn't heard of until I researched it and watched them. The first one's Frailty, and Frailty is a religious-based, like a religion-based horror movie. It's really good. I haven't watched it recently, so not everything's fresh in my mind. It's about 2 little boys and their dad likes to kill for good. Meaning he likes to kill for God, and you know, he thinks that these people are demons, and he goes out, brings them home, and makes his children watch him as he kills them and saying he's doing a good thing and God wants him to do these things and all this kind of stuff. It's just crazy. The main premise, most of it's flashbacks. The main premise is Owen Wilson is the main actor. He is he's one of the brothers that is older, and he wants to tell on his other brother who ends up believing in all of this and starts killing himself, which I believe is the younger brother, and then the older brother grows up not believing in it and living like a normal life, but then there's this huge twist at the end. But basically he goes in and says, I know who's killing all these people, to a detective who has been researching this serial killer case. And he's like, it's my brother. He's like, how do you know? Like, do you have any proof? And he tells the whole story, so it's all in flashback. But definitely check it out. It's a really good movie. It's very deep and suspenseful. There's definitely a lot of suspense. It's a lot more thriller based. It's not really super gory or anything, so it's not super horror or like, you know, typical horror. It's more of like a thriller action horror, if that makes sense. You know, not everything is like stark one genre anyway. Everything has more than one genre. The next one that is not talked about that much is Session 9. That's one I just watched recently. The biggest actor in it is David Caruso, which I wouldn't even say is like a huge actor. A lot of you probably know him from CSI Miami. He has the red hair and the sunglasses. Anyway, a lot of jokes about that, the sunglasses. That movie, Session 9, is about an asbestos clean team, I guess you would say. They're a group of people who clean asbestos for buildings, and they go to this insane asylum to clean out all this asbestos, and they have to do it within like a week or something. But then crazy stuff happens. One of the guys gets really intrigued by these tapes, these like reels of these sessions with this girl who has multiple personality disorder, and she has a bunch of different personalities that come out through her sessions, and so he's been listening and listening, and then when it reaches session 9, which is why the movie's called that, that's when all the crazy stuff happens. When he reaches that day to watch, my voice just cracked there, the day he listens to session 9 is the day that everything goes crazy. Again, huge twist at the end. You find out more about someone. It's pretty crazy. I thought it would be a lot more like haunted asylum kind of thing. I was really confused at the end, but I think going up to that point is really good. It's very slow. It takes forever to get started to be really creepy, and you think more things are gonna happen than they do, but I don't know. It's weird. But I'd never heard of it, and I never hear people talk about it or anything, so I definitely think it's underrated for what it is, but it's definitely not like my favorite movie of all time, but it's good. I like it, and I would definitely watch it again, because my favorite kind of movies are like asylum-y type movies. I really like the movie Asylum too, which is one of my cheap horror films, I guess you would say, guilty pleasures, which I'm going to do another video on also. I'll probably film that today, so if I'm wearing the same shirt in that video, you know. But guilty pleasure horror movies are like the cheap gore, cheap thrills type movies. Moving on to the two that were overrated, and probably overrated in the sense, no, I'm going to say overhyped before they came out. Maybe not one of them, but I know one of them was definitely overhyped. The first one is 1408. Now, when I was talking to my fiance about this and I told him my underrated horror film choices, he said 1408 is not underrated. And I agree in the sense that a lot of people like it, but not a lot of people love it. And so I think it's worth loving. I have a little beef with it. The director didn't stick to the story because, as you know, it's a story by Stephen King. It's one of his short stories, and I forget what book it's from. I think it's Everything's Eventual or Night Shift. I think it's Everything's Eventual, one of his newer ones. Doesn't matter. But the director didn't stick with the ending of the story because the original ending, he lives, and I can't remember, in the original movie, he dies. And then there's an alternate ending where he lives, which is actually what happened, but the whole ending's completely wrong. He sets himself on fire in the story, not the building. Not to be any spoiler alerts here, but I assume a lot of people have seen 1408. And then a guy with an ice chest comes and dumps the melted ice on him and he lives. That's the story, but I guess that's not really Hollywood, so they had to fix it. Stephen King wasn't a part of the movie, so that's probably why they twisted it. Anyway, 1408 I feel like was one of those, you know, like I said, a lot of people like it, but not a lot of people love it. I love it personally. I think it deserves a lot more love than it gets. That's just my personal opinion. John Cusack is the main actor. He's one of my favorite actors of all time. I love John Cusack, and I don't know why. I just really, really like John Cusack. And then there's other big actors in it as well. That's a really big actor movie. The next one that I'm going to talk about is Insidious. This is the last one I'm going to talk about as underrated. The reason why it's underrated is because it was so overhyped when the previews came out. When the previews came out, everyone seemed to be like, this is going to be my favorite movie ever. It looks so scary. It's from the makers of Paranormal Activity, so that's why a lot of people got their hype up and were like, I'm so excited. And I was too. I was definitely one of those people who was like, I have to see this movie in theaters. Ended up not happening for whatever reason. I ended up renting it, but it's one of my favorite films. I just got it on DVD last night for my friend for Christmas, so I'm super excited. We ended up watching it at her house as our little celebration for Christmas. But Insidious is one of the most original films I think I've seen in a long time. It's about a boy, and it's not really like demons or religion based or anything. But these people can walk, I forget what the term is that she used in the movie, the lady, but they walk about in their dreams, but it's not a dream. It's like an outer body experience, and they go too far, called the further. And the demon, or whatever they are, the monsters, the dead basically want to inhabit their physical body, but their spiritual body is elsewhere. That's why they want to inhabit the physical body, but they only want to do that to do harm to others, so that's why it's like a negative thing. So the longer he's out of his body, the more time they have to get in his physical body, but it's not an easy switch and everything. And the lady explains that in the movie. But the kid's in like a coma. They don't know what's wrong. Doctors don't know, but he's been in a coma for like 3 or 4 months. And then eventually they call in a bunch of people to help, and that's when crazy stuff goes down. But my favorite parts of the movie are not actually at the end where you see the monsters and everything. It's the creepy parts where the wife is not hallucinating, but seeing things. Oh my gosh. It's so crazy when like the little boy's dancing. There's a lot of parts in there that you have to really look at, because there's a scene where there's a little boy standing next to the coats when she like throws something away or something next to the coats. There's a boy there and you don't really see him at first until someone points it out to you. I saw it on the internet somewhere and someone pointed it out, and I was like, oh my god, I never noticed that. So there are certain parts you have to look out for. What I love about it is the old Hollywood type horror. I love the beginning with the Insidious sign. not sign, but like font. Thought I saw a cat. But like the font, and it's like 80s style, 70s, when horror movies first were like so popular and people were like rushing to the movies to see these horror films, you know, like The Blob and all that kind of stuff. It has that old Hollywood horror type feel to it, and I love it. The music too. The music in it is over the top, but in a good way, and it really makes the movie, it gives it such a different spin. I'm in love with it. I think it's really well done, and definitely the reason why it's in this underrated horror video, because after people saw it, people stopped talking about it, and like no one said they enjoyed it. And I mean, I never heard it again until after, I mean, once it was out of theaters and went to DVD, no one said anything, which is kind of recent, but still, it was weird because I thought that, I don't know, that people would be so in love with it after, because they saw the previews and they were like, oh my god, that's so good, but after it came and went out of theaters, no one said anything about it, so it was kind of strange. That's why it's underrated, because no one really said that they loved it after they saw it. Maybe they were disappointed in it, I don't know. I personally loved it, but I love all horror movies pretty much, except for a couple, which again, I'll do a least favorite horror movie type video eventually. So that's my underrated horror picks. Please let me know what you think is underrated or what you find enjoyable, and I'll watch it. Always leave requests in the comments for me to watch videos and do reviews on. But I hope this video was helpful, and I hope you check out some of these underrated films, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.